Hey, Indian Falls United Methodist Church. Jonathan Long here, Regional Director for One Mission Societies Europe and the Middle East region, as well as Field Director for the Hungary Field. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, my wife Corinne, my sons Carter and Grant, and my daughter Noemi Grace. And I get a fun task today because I enjoy making videos like this. I enjoy talking to the screen. I'm perfectly comfortable talking to my laptop. But I also get the task you have asked about the story behind why we're in missions. And it's an interesting story, I think. Because I grew up as a missionary kid in Costa Rica, Colombia, and I did my freshman year of high school in Hungary, and then a whole lot of places short term in between. And growing up as a missionary kid is a little bit like growing up in the circus, in that your lifestyle is a little bit abnormal. You travel a lot, you go and set up, and then just as fast you take down and you move on to the next place. And so for me, it was a very interesting and I considered a very blessed way to grow up. Now, that being said, I didn't want to be a missionary. And it's going to sound shallow, but frankly, I wanted to be rich. I had three passions: Harley Davidson motorcycles, Italian sports cars, and private airplanes. And as I looked around at the missionaries that my parents worked with, just to be honest with you, I didn't see any of those. And so I figured if I was going to be happy, I needed to make a lot of money. And so I got married at the age of 19. And I told my wife, I'm going to finish my degree and I'm going to work my way up in a business. I'm going to make a lot of money. We're going to have a good life. And that's the direction we started. But worked for a company for 7 years, and then one day, all of a sudden, something changed, and I had a profound memory, a very powerful memory from my time in Hungary when I was 14 years old. And I remember it was just enough for me to go, "Whoa, what was that?" And later that afternoon, it happened again, and then it happened again and again and again. And something else happened while I was having all these memories, and that's a passion or a burden started to grow. Now, some people talk about being called out of a pew during a mission service, or a light shining from above, or a voice from heaven. But for me, it wasn't really that. It was just this slow growing longing in my heart for all things hungry. And I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to explain that I went to the library and got a book on Hungary, or that I was checking out websites on Hungary. And so I didn't tell my wife anything because I didn't know how to share that with her. But I finally went to visit my father, who's still a missionary at the time. And I shared with my dad, "Dad, this is what's going on." And he was the one to tell me, "Jonathan, God is calling you to be a missionary." And I thought it was going to be simple. Great, cool. I'll go tell my wife. We'll join an organization and off we'll go. Now, my wife comes from a family that has missions backgrounds, but she also believes that she should be called as well to be a missionary. And so when I first shared this with her, she said, "Jonathan, you missed the life in the circus. I don't think God has called us to be missionaries." And so I told God, I said, "God, you're going to have to call her if we're going to go as a couple into the mission field." And so 2 years went by, and I didn't think it was going to happen. You start to feel like, okay, it's been 2 years and we're not getting anywhere. But all of a sudden at our church, they had a missionary come, and we almost never had missionaries come to our church. And we had a missionary show up. And during that service, God was speaking to Corinne's heart. And she said to God, "Look, when I come out of here, I've told Jonathan now not to bring it up again. When I come out of here, I need him to tell me that we are called to be missionaries in Hungary, and I need to hear it today." And so when we left the service, we were heading out to lunch with some friends after church, and we hopped in our car. And she asked me a question about my work and something going on with my job. And I said, "Honey," I said, "yeah, I've thought about it. But I said, honestly, God has called us to be missionaries in Hungary." And she bursts out in tears. Now, as a guy, I can't really tell good tears from bad tears. All crying is bad crying. And so I said, "Honey, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is." She said, "No, no, you don't understand. That's what I needed to hear. This is what I asked God to tell me, uh, so that I would know that it was real." And from that point forward, it's been all systems go. Together, we've been going now over 10 years in missions. And so that's really where we've been headed. Now, our passion, what drives us forward, is transformed lives, making of disciples, seeing people come from darkness to life, from death to life. And so, in Europe, it's not the easiest place to do ministry. In a lot of cases, we're going back to Europe as opposed to forward to other fields. But what's interesting is Europe truly is the new dark continent. Despite Christian past, it's in a place where a lot of the church is by and large dead. But back in the 1700s, there was a movement that took place where the church was also in a similar state, and John Wesley showed up on the scene, had an experience at Aldersgate, where he said, "There's something different here." And he started a movement where 186,000 people in his lifetime joined the Methodist movement in a time of poor economy, in a time of war and massive gaps between the rich and the poor. And so, we were inspired by that. And we started going around to churches and talking about the necessity for making disciples, because we believe that disciples multiply. It's the core engine of the body of Christ. And so as we started going around to churches, churches started taking on our cause. People started getting excited about it. We took a combination of the band and the class formats, and we basically started discipling people in churches. And what we saw is that when we were making disciples in churches, when we started with the church first, those disciples started reaching outside of the church, and we started to see Hungarians reaching Hungarians. Now, to see a disciple making movement take place, it's ultimately going to have to come down to Hungarians reaching Hungarians. And so we're really, really excited about that. And we've seen some very positive results. We've seen Hungarians leading Hungarians to Christ. We've seen discipleship groups multiplying. And just our hope is that just as in Wesley's day, that this will catch fire and reignite a revival across Europe. And so that's what we're praying for. So I just want to thank you for your years of faithful support. Thank you for your prayers. We absolutely could not be doing what we're doing without them. If you want to follow up with us, The Long Lifeline on Facebook. The Long Lifeline is our Facebook page. We update it probably every twice a week actually. And we also post regular blog posts and other things there as well. So that'll give you kind of a firsthand view into our ministry. So again, Indian Falls, just want to express our gratitude and our thanks for you guys. God bless. We'll see you soon.